Hi, I'm Vicki Westling with City Speaks. We're here today to complete the second part of the ride-along with Mayor Wilfred Rosas and our DPW Director Randy Woodbury through the city of Dunkirk. We're going to take a look at the things that we didn't get to last week, so stay tuned and watch us. We're going to take a ride. Before we do, however, I've got two quick things where citizens have called in and have asked about, so let me answer those very quickly. The first one, there are banners on the poles for Academy Heights. Some of those banners have fallen down or they've blown down. If you find them, please return them to the DPW department in City Hall or take them to our park supervisor, Russ Tinamore, in the Parks Department, and we can reaffix them to the poles. The other thing is, I had a question from a resident regarding the area where the water from Lake Erie brushes against the seawall by the high-rise. They've asked about having this area cleaned up. There again, I've referred this to our DPW Director, Randy Woodbury. He informed me today that he has contacted the state. They'll look into it and they'll make sure it's cleaned up. So with all that said, let's go for a ride. Okay, we're back in the DPW truck with our Mayor Wilfred Rosas, and our DPW Director, Randy Woodbury. We're going to pick up where we left off, Randy, so tell us a little bit about what's happening.
Sure, Vicki. We're actually going to take a little bit of a detour before we get back to Route 5 at the water plant where we left off, because we have something interesting to look at. On the right is the Dunkirk Historical Society, very historical building in itself, but the mayor was able to put together a re-roofing package that included this historical society and all of the fire halls and City Hall and the city barns, all under one package, and it was done by A.W. Farrell and Sons, a local contractor, and we have the contractor did an excellent job, and they also helped us with the financing. So these buildings, if you let them go, especially a roof, they can deteriorate very quickly. So yep, and the electricity was upgraded, and we continue to do a lot of things for the fire halls. Public Works is involved with all buildings. The mayor's asked me to take a look at the dog shelter and also the dog park. So that's an additional responsibility for Public Works that we're happy to attend to. So I just wanted to take a little bit of a detour. We're going to go down and take a look at Estelle House complex that the city, right now we're busy doing the water connections for those buildings. And I believe it's a $17 million housing improvement to the city of Dunkirk. So we're headed in that direction right now.
Okay, so while we're on our way to the Stell building, Mayor, when you came into the office, there were a lot of buildings and things that needed to be done, not just the Historical Society building, but there were some other things that you've done to our buildings. Tell me a little bit about those.
Well, we started at the Streets Department, where we put in a new floor as well as some other painting and rearranging in there. We cleaned it up. We're still not done there. We're going to be looking at painting the outside of that building, but we did some needed upgrades there, and the morale of the guys that worked there went up, and so I was very proud of that. Also at the fire department, we ended up having to put new roofs in there and also some remodeling in there, which some of our own people handled that, and I was proud of the way that was done too. The morale in the fire department has improved as a result of these upgrades. In the police department, we've done a few upgrades there, and the morale also has improved in that department. Over at the Historical Society where we were just at, there were some electrical upgrades that needed to be done, as well as some cosmetic stuff with the window and things that our guys did. And again, those folks there at the Historical Society were very happy with what we were able to do there. We continue to do upgrades at all of our facilities. And also, we've been working at the water and the wastewater and our parks. We've done work at our parks. I'm very proud of that. We were able to secure funding from the state. Again, Governor Cuomo and our New York State elected officials have been paying attention to the city of Dunkirk. I make it a point to get to Albany to meet with them as often as I can. And, because of that funding, we're able to improve some of the conditions of our facilities here in the city of Dunkirk.
And it isn't just the facilities themselves, because you spoke about the street department, and aesthetically, we've done some work, but we've also done a tremendous amount of the landscaping there, which has really helped. So where somebody works, their environment, their working conditions, those things are important. So here we go, Randy. Where are we now?
Well, I want to stop right here and look out the window. We have a lot of positive things happening in the city, and sometimes you have to take the negative things too and turn them into positive. We have a collapsed private sewer that the homeowners were not able to afford the repair, so the city is going to do the repair. We've contracted a licensed master plumber to do that, and you can see all the flags there ready to dig. They've already done some exploratory work on that, but this is a problem that's been there for a while. The mayor said to move more quickly on these, and we've motivated our process so that we can move more quickly on these and get them done. Most people, once it's explained to them that they own the connection all the way out to the city main, they take it upon themselves to hire a master plumber and make the fix. In this particular one, we're going to hire the master plumber, and then there's a process that gets the city reimbursed through the tax assessment and tax collection system. So we just happen to be passing that. People wonder about that. There are things that we address as quickly as we can with the homeowners, and we're going to be addressing them even more quickly now. The mayor's asked us to do that, and we've established a process so we can do that.
Okay, and you and I talked just before the taping began where we had some homeowners over on Margay that had some flooding in their basements, some storm flooding, and you had suggested that if the situation is bad, if you can't get through to DPW, if it's off hours, to contact the police department. Is that correct?
Yes, the non-emergency number of the police department is 366-2266. That rings at the desk, and then they'll call me wherever I happen to be, and I'll either go there and determine what the situation is or have our master plumber take a look at it. We want to hear about these things, and the police have been kind enough to be the main dispatch point for any type of thing that could be an emergency. It isn't just the routine things that you think police officers do. They're oftentimes involved in responding to flooding incidents and things like that. We have a very good relationship with the police department on that. So right now, if we look ahead, we're at the intersection of 7th and Route 60, and we have one of the big Stell complexes being put up right here, and then right next to it is another one. So we'll wait for a bicyclist to get across, and then we will pull in front of the other one too as we head over to the water plant. So these are multi-unit, and the city is providing the water and sewer service for these, but there were dilapidated houses and other buildings in here that came down, and we have this brand new housing facility that's going up throughout the city, and it isn't located in just one spot. It's spread out through the entire city to really to be the anchor of an excellent building in a neighborhood. And then hopefully all the other houses will be motivated to match that, and we'll have a much improved housing throughout the entire city. We've already seen many of that thing happen. Once we improve a road, people get motivated to do their garden and things like that. So we fix one thing, they fix another, and we'll eventually get there. We have a little park on the left that our good friend Skeeter Tower is working on. They add a tree and a bench. We're happy to work with her on things like that. But the Stell project is amazing. It took a long time to get that funding together, and the city's happy to work with them on that project.
Well, and of course, housing is one of the issues that we've talked about that we need to have more of, especially with the Phoenix coming in, with the cold storage warehouse coming in, with the expansion at Philbrook Foods. So housing is critical, and those are the things that we're doing with our development department. Mayor, what other kinds of things are happening in the city that you feel will help to bring more people in as residents?
Well, we have the Athenix project happening just outside the city there. I think that's going to be a big economic boost. They're expecting that the new Battery Point Villas, which we're going to be seeing shortly, that location, are going to bring in people that will be looking to be employed at Athenix. to live at that location. So that'll bring in more people. It'll be an economic boost to the city, and I'm looking at probably bringing in more businesses. It'll help us to bring in more businesses because of Phoenix. So I think that's a huge economic impact for the city. And then again, this Stell project is also a project that we're proud of. We were a part of the process. I was the one that actually hand delivered the proposal to Albany, myself personally, on that project. I think Stell is doing a wonderful job with it, and the city has been involved in helping them out. Both our development department, under the direction of Rebecca Yanis, as well as our building inspector's office.
And now we talk about Battery Point Villas. We're going to go and see what's happening there. They've begun to do some of the work, not a lot of it, but some. And that is going to be a 3-phase project. Is that correct?
That's correct. That'll be a 3-phase project. We're looking at the first phase being done by this time next year. So there's a lot of excitement about that. Right now, they've demolished a couple of buildings that were up, homes that were up there. They have one more they need to demolish, and that's what they're working on now.
Okay, we're on Plover Street, and Randy, there's some interesting things happening here. Tell us about it.
All right, we're going southerly on Plover Street in the second ward. In the second ward, all of the streets are named after a bird, so those of you that are ornithologists will know what a plover is. And we're going on to a reconstructed Plover Street that the city designed. This was brand new sidewalks on the right, brand new driveway aprons, and most importantly is the thing that's underground. We have a new drainage system. This was very badly cratered before we rebuilt this. And it was the students that walked to school were on a school route. The students were walking in the road, and it wasn't well lit. Sidewalks, now we have beautiful sidewalks, beautiful signage, a nice retention wall here to protect the tree here. It's got some historic value. And then the signs that we paint in the road that says school zone ahead, we keep after those. We've noticed that the paint that we're using, even though it's a DOT spec paint, doesn't last as long as we'd like it to. So I've had the impact team research a new paint. I'd like to go to a yellow fluorescent type of paint and redo all of these signs all these signs in a road and all of the markings, all the crosswalks. But notice that this road was really unpassable. We have a new light here, a brand new sidewalk on the right. I would come here at night when it was pitch dark and see students right across the street having to walk in the road, walk in the dark to get back home. And the police chief and I and the mayor worked together and said, this is not acceptable. And we did a lot of work in-house for the design. The estimate for an engineering company was $250,000. By doing it in-house and doing the design ourselves, we were able to do the entire project, start to finish, including the sidewalk and the lights, for $50,000. So 1/5 of the cost by doing it in-house. We're also passing a section of 6th Street past the high school here. The mayor and I have been touring, and we want to make sure these crosswalks were recently repainted, but they were done in August before school starts, and they're not lasting as well, and they're not as bright as we would like them to be. So we just wanted to say that, yeah, we have some improvements, but we also have a couple of hiccups that we want to address. We have, as this car approaches over here, they notice that there's a school sign that's nicely done, but we want to use an improved paint. That paint does meet Department of Transportation specifications, but I had the impact team go and say, I want something that does even better than that. So I'm going to have a proposal for the mayor to redo a lot of these markings and to enhance all of the markings. Wherever we have a stop sign, we want to make sure that the crosswalks are well marked. So not only are we hitting the highlights, we're admitting that there are some lowlights that we inherited that the mayor and I are going to work together on, and we're going to make sure that they meet the highest standard.
Well, and that's important too, because our kids are important, walking back and forth to school. Now, I have a question that may sound rather elementary, but if we're using white paint, is that going to show up in the snow?
As I said, we're going to switch from white to the fluorescent yellow like the county uses here in the middle stripe. That's a higher quality paint. We're going to match that. There was a period of time when instead of using paint, they used plastic inlays on the road. Those have all deteriorated, and we're not gonna use that. Those fall apart and get into the sanitary sewers and into the storm sewers, and become plastic pollution in Lake Erie. So what you see here, this is Brigham Road, which is a county road. You can see several layers of yellow paint. There's an older type of paint that's pretty much faded, but the newer types of paint that are yellow are higher quality, and the city's going to move to that. As we approach School 5, we can see that we have a white standard marking for school, and this does meet the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Device for that, but you also can use yellow. And I would prefer to move to the yellow, which is more fluorescent. And so, good point about the snow. But the yellow has a better chance of being seen. So I hadn't thought about that. I like yellow just because it shows up better and it's brighter. But I think with the snow idea, maybe I have an aversion to even mentioning that S word. So we're going to make them yellow.
Well, get ready because I think it's coming. Okay, we're headed toward the water filtration plant, and the water filtration plant has seen some major upgrades, Mayor. And I notice now that we also have the fencing up. We have a lot of things going on. Tell us a little bit about what's happened there.
Well, again, this is a project that was started about 8 years ago, and we are in the final phase of this project for completion. So we're excited about finally getting this project done. This was a consent order project, which means that we were forced to do this project by the county health department. But we took it a step further. We made some upgrades there. We are now going to become the sole supplier of water to the North County Water District, which we're very proud of. And these upgrades, again, were things that we needed to do to put ourselves in position to not only supply water to the North County Water District, but even any more additional customers.
And City Speaks was at the water filtration plant a couple of weeks ago. We actually saw all of the process, what they go through. We talked with our lab technician, we talked with our chief operator, and looked at all the different things that they had. And Bob Laurie, our chief operator, was absolutely he was excellent. He was very informative. So I think that what we've done at the water treatment plant is really significant. And you can see the old water tower is gone now, and the new blue tower is up.
That's right. That's the new blue water tower, and it looks beautiful. I'd like to commend our DPW director, Randy Woodbury, and his staff. They've been, monitoring this project for us right along, and they've done a wonderful job with it.
Yeah, they have. And now, Randy, this water tower is not used for the water that we drink, although we can drink it, but it's actually used to wash the filters. Is that correct?
Vicki, you're right. We're going to give you your test for chief operator. Thank you for it. As everybody knows, that I'm excited about Dunkirk water. We're filtered by granulated activated carbon, and some of the highest quality drinking water that you possibly could make. Sometimes some people spend a lot of money to have granulated activated carbon filters at their home. We filter with granulated activated carbon right at the filter plant. And what we're looking at the north side of Route 5 here is a 1925 era beautiful filter plant that's been extended a couple times, but it's a really unique architecture, and it used to have a 1925 water tank behind there. And as you say, that water tank here is drinkable water, but it's not used in the system. It's used to backwash our filter beds. We have 8 filter beds with the activated carbon in there, and the activated carbon takes out any trace of any background organic material. Any surface water supply has background organic material. We want to remove all of it, and we do. And the water quality that we put out is 2 orders of magnitude better than the standard. That is, you could be a 1 we're better than a 0.1. We're actually, our turbidity is at a 0.01 when it leaves the plant. So, as you said, Bob Laurie and his team of licensed operators make excellent quality water. We remove all of the organic material. We remove all the fine particles, including what the college has discovered to be something called microbeads in Lake Erie. Those are all trapped at the water plant. They don't get into, some city systems have microbeads in their city systems. Ours does not. We've measured that. So we have a good water plant here on the left. The green fence outlines an area that a future high-lift pump station will go. A couple years later, when we're working well with the North County Water District, we had the plans ready to build a new pump station there. In the meantime, we're going to renovate the pump station on the right, which has 3 pumps that are working. We're going to fix the 4th pump, and that's going to give us our 10 million gallon per day capacity that the Water District would like to have, and we'll be in good shape, and then eventually build the new high-lift pump station at a later date when all of the systems are working well. But the water tank that you can see the top of behind there holds 75,000 gallons of water to flush our filter plant filters on every 100 hours. And on one side it says City of Dunkirk, and on the other side there's a beautiful city seal. We're going to put a spotlight on that so you can see that illuminated city seal on all of the, from the new lake wall that we have over in the first ward. You'll be able to see that illuminated city seal. We're very proud of our City of Dunkirk, and the water tanks are one way to advertise that pride.
Well, that's true. And of course, now we're going to head east on Lakeshore Drive toward the wastewater treatment plant, because we've also done many upgrades there as well. And that is still being worked on, I do believe. There's still some things happening at the wastewater treatment plant. Tell us a little bit about that as we drive along.
Sure. The wastewater treatment plant, it's at the lowest end of the city. Most of the wastewater gets drained to the wastewater plant by gravity, unlike the water system, which is pumped out of Lake Erie into elevated tanks. Doesn't take a lot of energy. We have very efficient pumps to do that. And because we have the elevated tanks, we have pressurized drinking water all the time. That water that's used for drinking has to then be treated, because it's then impure, and so it flows by gravity back to the easterly end of the city, where about the same period of time when the filter plant was built, the city built a wastewater treatment plant. It's evolved over the years to have much better treatment of the water, because we respect that we take the water out of Lake Erie, we give Lake Erie back the water. We want to give the water back in as pristine a condition as we can, and we remove 95% or more. Sometimes it's way into the 98% or higher of the pollutants in the wastewater that come into the plant, have to be removed at the plant. And we use a biological system, we use a mechanical system. We have licensed wastewater plant operators there as well. So we have a 24/7 operation at the water plant for drinking water, and we have a 24/7 operation at the wastewater plant. We're following deep underground, below lake level. We're following the road, Route 5 and now Main Street, where there is a 7-foot diameter pipe below lake level that's going downhill all the way to Lake Erie. That was built under the Clean Water Act because there used to be overflows of sewers into the beaches, and in the 1970s we eliminated all that, and we store water at the wastewater plant, and we treat it even when we have a big storm event, because we have some of our storm sewers also flow into the sanitary sewer. If we can't handle the water, we're permitted, and then that's Battery Point out there. Our outfall is a half a mile out into the lake past Battery Point. We don't put anything anywhere near the beach, and there's a submerged ice age level channel that flows easterly and disperses the wastewater out past Battery Point. And if our water is coming in too fast, then we take care of the sewage, but the rainwater we're licensed to treat with just chlorine and disinfect it and put it out into the lake. So occasionally when it rains really, really hard, we have to put a little bit of rainwater out past that, and we do disinfect that rainwater with chlorine at the system.
And City Speaks was also at the wastewater treatment plant some time back, and Sean Rayner did an excellent job and has invited us to come back. So we will be coming back to visit the wastewater treatment plant again very soon. And Mayor, you've been very involved in getting the funding and the grants for the wastewater treatment plant. Tell me a little bit about that process.
Well, we're very grateful to our governor. Governor Cuomo has been very helpful in both plants. He not only gave us a grant of $2.5 million for each plant, but also gave us a 0% interest loan to be able to accomplish these upgrades and repairs. So we're very grateful to New York State and Governor Cuomo for that. And again, that was something. It was a process. I did send Randy Woodbury, when he was our city engineer, out to a meeting out in Rochester to attend a meeting there. And at that meeting, the contacts were made, and that's where the process began. So very thankful to Randy for the job that he's been doing with us. You know, securing the funding to complete this project is very important. It's a very important part of my job as mayor, and very proud to say that these projects are moving along in the right direction to get our wastewater treatment plant. We want to position ourselves in a place where we can take more waste and bring in more industry and more businesses to the city. So that's the ultimate goal of these upgrades.
And so we talk about bringing in more businesses and the upgrades to both our water filtration plant and our wastewater treatment plant. And that, of course, helps with the Phoenix. That was one of the draws with the Phoenix coming in, although they're in the town of Dunkirk. But also because we're going to have additional provide the water there and the sewage treatment there, as well as Philbrook Foods. So things are happening. And now we're at the corner of where Wright Park begins with our new splash pad. And that, again, was another grant that we worked on that we received. So we're going to move along now up toward the wastewater treatment plant, correct, Randy?
Yep. Just one thing. As we enter this area, we've been driving along Lake Boulevard, and everyone's noticed that we have a new lake wall. The mayor helped finish that. He was on the council when it was being built, and he was the mayor when we finally closed it out. But we have a beautiful, it looks like limestone. It's concrete. It's architecturally beautiful. The wall had been deteriorating. It was more than 100 years old, and it runs the entire boulevard. It makes an excellent amphitheater for our fireworks. We have a huge fireworks on the 4th of July. We've had 2 air shows that this wall was the amphitheater for. Hector Rosas put together a boat race that used this wall as the amphitheater. So I just wanted to mention that we kind of forget some of these really other good things that have been going on, but this wall is an incredible addition to the Wright Park beach area. Makes the entire area from I consider it the Dunkirk Riviera, from the high rise on Main Street all the way to Wright Park, and we get a little more sand in there, and we got the Pacific Coast Highway. We're coming up into Wright Park, which the Development Department and DPW worked together on. We had another $500,000 grant. We talked about one at Point Gratiot yesterday, but we finished in big improvements here. 1 year ago, the roof on the building at the beach hut was ready to blow away, and it was leaking water. Right now, it's in excellent shape. So we have a new parking lot here, new signage, new flowers, we have new grass, a new area for picnicking, and a great venue. It's a little restaurant. It's popular. We have a volleyball court. We have a citywide league of volleyball that's very popular. And right in the splash pad to our right, it's been winterized now, but you can see all the places. If the weather were a little bit nicer, we would have kept it open longer, but it had to have been used almost every day from when we opened it up in the summertime until Labor Day, maybe even a little bit beyond, and it was packed with children and sometimes even adults. Sometimes even a mayor with a suit on ran through that splash pad because we were so happy about it. And we have a beautiful little Wright Park here. We have a very well-run wastewater plant that we're coming up on, The major reconstruction of this wastewater plant was done in the 1970s. So it's been 50 years since it's been needed some work. We're doing that right now. There's a hole in the ground right now that goes 5 stories below Lake Erie. We can see on the right. This is where we had the groundbreaking for this plant at the beginning of this year. We put 2 new bar screens. The wastewater comes into the plant right here, 5 stories below Lake Erie. It's screened by 2 new bar screens. Each one cost $1 million, and then it goes through some grit removal systems, and then in the building we're looking at straight ahead, this is the incoming on our right. Straight ahead is the outgoing. The outgoing includes sludge that has to go to the landfill or be composted. We may partner with the village of Fredonia through an intermunicipal grant to do some composting of their waste sludge and our waste sludge. So we have the option of doing that. But up in that building are 2 presses that squeeze the water out and turn the sludge into as solid as possible. Those are 1980s vintage. They're worn out, and they're foreign made. We can't get parts anymore. So we have new belt presses coming in that are being built in Saratoga, New York, an excellent company. It's a New York company, and we're going to put 2 new belt presses to handle our sludge. We're going to increase the solids of that sludge and be able to dispose of it at a lower rate. So even though it's going to cost something, there's going to be payback, a return on investment by making these improvements.
So this is a work in progress. We've done a lot, but we still have a lot left to do. And so we're going to head through here, and then we're going to move on toward Battery Point. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm just going to do a U-turn here, and this is where the wastewater comes out. That little building is the chlorination building. That's the final disinfectant. Behind those are primary tanks where things settle. But this is where even when we have to pump stormwater, which is mostly rainwater, out and put it out a half a mile into the lake, everything gets disinfected through that building right there. That building was in a state of decay. The city engineering department designed the rechlorination system, the rebuilding of that, and our crews here built that. So we did some work in-house. We probably saved $250,000. The total cost was about $29,000, and the engineer's estimate was about $250,000 to fix that. We fixed it for much less than that. And on the building that we see on the right here, the upper floor of that building is the City of Dunkirk Environmental Laboratory, certified by the state of New York to do all the tests that are required to make sure this plant operates correctly all the time. And we have a waste stream that varies. Many wastewater plants are lucky to have a very consistent, maybe just resident only. We have industries that have different types of waste, and they all mingle together. And in order to treat that, it takes scientists. We have 3 scientists working on the 3rd floor of this laboratory to make sure that this plant's working all the time. And the licensed wastewater operators also are scientists. They do tests on an hourly basis, and we have a lab director upstairs that can look through a microscope and identify all of the biological elements that remove the wastewater, actually convert the wastewater from something that could be dangerous to something that's just a carbon dioxide released to the atmosphere. And nothing goes into the lake. As I said, 95% or higher of the pollutants that are in the waste stream are removed at this plant before we discharge back to the lake. So the City of Dunkirk recycles water, and we do it in a very environmentally correct way. We are regulated, but we meet all those regulations.
Okay, and so we're going to be ready for Athenix when it comes in, right? Okay, Mayor, and we've done a lot of things, not just with the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant, but certainly when we talk about bringing other industry, bringing other corporations and even residences back into the city of Dunkirk, those things require a lot of work and a lot of planning. And I know that our planning and development department, we're working on our comprehensive plan right now. Rebecca Yanis has really been working very diligently to make sure that everything is done the way that it needs to get done. But you also have done some things, and we have we didn't mention the current upgrades that we're doing with the pier, the central connection. All of those things are happening. What else is going on in our area?
Well, as you said, the Central Connection project is something that we're working on now. That includes the paving of Central Avenue from the pier all the way to the Fredonia Village line. And also we're going to get some striping in there with a bike path. So we're excited about that. We have some intersections that we're upgrading, and that is part of that project. The pier project is something that we're working on, and we should be going into implementation soon. I believe it's going to be coming before the planning board next month sometime. So we're excited about that. We are also looking for a phase 2 at the project you just saw at Wright Park. We have more amenities we'd like to bring in, like a playground, and also a phase 2 at the Point project. So our development department has been very busy, and they work together with all of our other departments, most especially our DPW department.
And here, as we go through this park, you can see we have the skate park on one side, we have the Promishenko Field on the other side, and this is where every summer this place stays busy.
Yes, it stays very busy, and one of the things I want to point out is that we were able to paint the fences at all of our parks, and this fence here at the Promishenko Stadium here was painted, and it looks like a brand new fence right now. We've received many compliments. These are the type of little things, that we can do, and we've been doing it. Our DPW director, again, Randy Woodbury, has come up with different ways of getting these things done. The Mayor's Impact Team has been involved in some of these little projects, and we've even used the inmates to help us out with some of this. So these are things that we're doing in the city, throughout the city, to enhance all of our parks.
Right, and you see that during the summertime we have every field is full, from our t-ball courts to our little league to our softball, and now on the left we also have new basketball courts that aren't really new but have been refurbished.
Absolutely, this has all been redone, so it's like a new basketball court here, and again, as you can see, the fences have been painted as well here. People have been very happy with these courts. They've been using it regularly, and we're very proud to be able to provide this as another activity for kids in the city.
Right.
Vicki, I'd like to mention that the Promishenko and the basketball courts are lit, and the mayor has secured an incentive to do LED lighting, energy efficient lighting, at these fields and throughout the city. So there's activity that goes on even late into the night, and the mayor is going to relight all of these fields with a light emitting diode, which is a much more efficient technology, a much better light spectrum. So I just wanted, as we come through here, wanted to mention the lighting project.
Let's talk about the LED lighting project for a little bit, Mayor. This is a project that we've been working on for quite some time. I think that a couple of years ago we started talking with Albany, with the Financial Restructuring Board, to get some help to do some different things, and the LED project is one that I know you and the DPW Director Woodbury have worked on. Tell me about that.
Well, again, when I first came into office, we looked at different ways that we could actually come up with funding. We applied for the New York State Restructuring Board program. We were approved, and I'm thankful again to Governor Cuomo for the assistance that he's provided. This project here we're very excited about. It's the LED project, which includes every light in the city. All of our facilities, as well as all of our street lamps, will be converted to LED. This project, when it's completed, will be saving the city taxpayers approximately $250,000 annually. So this is huge for us to be able to accomplish this. And like I said, we can use them savings in different areas to, again, continue to improve our infrastructure in the city.
And so now our total LED lighting grant or funding that we've received is over $1 million. Is that correct?
That's true. We have we've been approved to receive $1.1 million, and again, I'm very proud to make that announcement. I made that announcement when I presented my budget a couple of weeks ago. We've been approved for that, and at this time, as a matter of fact, I just received a call on it today. We're very close to signing a contract with the consulting engineers on this project.
So that is even more great news. And now we're at a point that this is the Athenix project, and this is a project that we've talked about. We had Governor Cuomo was in town when the project was announced. It was one of those things people were saying it's never going to happen. And as we can see, it is happening, Mayor. And that has a lot to do with collaboration between yourself, the superintendent of the town of Dunkirk, and the governor's office, because they helped to bring it in. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I think there was a lot of partners involved in this project. The city's involved here with our water and our wastewater services that we'll be providing. Our DPW director and myself attend meetings regularly to ensure that we are providing all the support that they need and making sure that they have everything that they could possibly need to ensure that this is a successful project. We're very excited about this project, and again, I believe that this project will be a game changer for the city of Dunkirk.
Now, if I understand correctly, and I could be wrong, the estimate for the once it's all completed and everything's up and going, we're looking at 900 as a possible employee base. Is that correct?
900 jobs is what they're talking about, 450 inside and 450 on the outside of it. So this company, Athenix, is looking to invest $1.6 billion into this plant here. They're very excited about it. I've sat down with the CEO of the company, and we've had discussion about how excited these folks are. And like I said, everyone involved is very excited about this project. This project is rated one of the top projects in the whole northeastern United States.
And it is exciting. And one of the things that when we were at the boat race, one of the Athenix officers or members talked to me about coming on City Speaks. So we're looking forward to having that happen as well. So, Randy, is there anything you want to add to this?
I do. Just as Gabe pans here, the mayor and I have gone to the planning board meetings for this building. We've noticed that the parking lot's going to have 325 parking spaces. So there's room for 325 employees working in this building that we're multi-story building, cutting edge technology to improve people's health, possible cures for cancer, things that were that important are coming. It's not just the jobs, it's also what they're doing with those jobs. Just amazing. And then I'm looking at things like drainage pipes, things like that in order for the planning to be done correctly, they're preserving wetlands, they're building detention ponds. All of this stuff is very well built with an environmental aspect as well. So one of the reasons they came here is because the city of Dunkirk has such excellent water quality. And we just built a 12-inch water line to this plant, just got completed by a local contractor. And we just met with the engineers on that just a few minutes ago before we started this trip. And then we're going to handle all the wastewater as well. So it's been a partnership with everybody throughout the state. I would say that the Mayor Rosas has been the biggest leader to make it all come together. Everyone was important, but I think to merge all of the efforts, there's maybe a lot of equal, but nobody better than Mayor Rosas to bring everyone together.
Right. Collaboration has been the key to bringing this about and to making it happen from every level of government within the area, as well as with certainly our local DPW and all the things that you have done as well. So now we're going to head out toward, take a look at the progress of Battery Point. They've just begun to do some clearing. One of the houses is down, and I think the other one is on its way or going soon. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. We just spoke to the developers there, and they were waiting for the tenant in that house to vacate the house so that they could move along with their project. Part of their project, again, is to demolish that home there. So that project again is moving forward. We're really looking forward to this happening. There's people, my understanding, that have already been calling these developers and want to, ascertain what they have to do to get a apartment in this complex. So that's already happening.
So they're going to be high-end homes, high-end housing, high-end apartments. So it's one of those things that we're looking forward to as far as the city goes, and hopefully it'll happen sooner than later. But certainly I think that they're going to schedule to start when? In the spring of next year?
The phase one of this project is supposed to be completed by this time next year.
Okay, so that's good. All right, Randy, so now where are we headed now? We're going to go over to the old Edgewater warehouse site that is no more. Is that correct?
It's a good place to finish. But here's where the Battery Point Village are going to be. It's really excellent wooded land in there, and this is the entrance to the city of Dunkirk. So even though Phoenix is slightly outside the city of Dunkirk, a lot of people who are going to work there probably will be living at their Battery Point villas. It's going to be an excellent addition to the northeast part of town. And I think we'll head up Roberts Road and close this little tour with a view of it's a lot of history is being demolished with the Edgewood Warehouse. It used to be part of American Locomotives, which had a history that went back to Horatio Brooks, one of the founders of the city of Dunkirk and a former mayor. It's kind of sad to see that building go, but it had its day and it did its job. It used to make steam locomotives. We haven't used steam locomotives, since the 1940s or 1950s. And so now it's time to remove that building, do an environmental cleanup, and we're going to be doing a multi-story cold storage warehouse that is going to be an integral part of our wonderful Fieldbrook Farms ice cream factory. It's going to be a big storage factory for that, allow them to do a lot more production. It's going to increase the number of jobs. There's going to be jobs there. But really primarily it's going to be clean up a sore spot in the city, in the city's fourth ward. It's wonderful to see that reused. The county recently built Millennium Parkway, which goes through there, and that was built primarily to be a main highway between Nestle Purina and the New York State Thruway, and it's working very well. But it also was built for other things, and Millennium Parkway is going to be part of the Edgewood Warehouse new conversion to cold storage warehouse for the ice cream.
And the cold storage warehouse is one of the things that the mayor has been working on for some time to bring them in. There's been a lot of meetings. Having the cold storage warehouse in the city of Dunkirk, this close in proximity to Philbrook Foods, it was paramount, was one of the things that we needed to do because of the expansion of Philbrook Foods. So the mayor has really worked with the Krog Enterprises to make this happen. Mayor, tell us a little bit about how this has progressed.
Well, it's progressing as well as planned. I mean, Krog has a very, very aggressive timeline, and they are staying to it. We're proud of this project as well. This was one of the first projects that I became involved in, and I must give credit to Rich Dixon, who early on was part of trying to get this project here. We did a lot of work working with Philbrook Foods and their CEO, and we were fortunate to get it here at this location. This location here, the site that's known as the Edgewood site, it was done to be an industrial site, so it really fit the zoning, and in my opinion, like I said, Philbrook Foods is going to be looking to expand. So it's not just jobs that are being created here at this site with the cold storage warehouse. It's also jobs that are going to be created at Philbrook Foods with the more production that they're going to be having there.
Right, because the cold storage warehouse now, because they'll be able to take some of the product and store it there, will give an opportunity for Philbrook Foods to expand, maybe add another line, which means more people, more employees, and more for our economy. So, Randy, tell us a little bit.
Yeah, as we get there, I don't want to ignore the hiccups. Here we have one of the viaducts that CSX Railroad, one of the two Class 1 railroads that pass through the city. We're happy to have excellent rail service. We have Norfolk Southern on the southern end and CSX on the northern end that provide our industries with excellent rail service. But we do have a little bit of a negotiation to do that the mayor started with CSX to allow us to repaint these bridges. A lot of people have complained about them, and we totally agree. But we don't have permission from CSX right now to do what it takes to repaint this. The 25-year-old paint job needs to be redone. And so the Mayor Rosas is negotiating at the highest levels with CSX and also using our federal representatives to get permission to do this. So I just wanted to mention that we didn't forget about this. We agree with the people that it's time to repaint these. We're working on the permission to do that.
Okay, so hopefully we'll get that done because those are the entranceway into various parts of the city, and there are things that people see. So we want to make sure that as we work and as the mayor works to make things more positive aesthetically, we'd like to have those done as well. Now here on our left, this is where the old Edgewood warehouse was, and as you can see, it is no more. We have a rubble of concrete and various stuff just lying around. So this is where the cold storage warehouse will be once they get it all done. This at one time was Roblin Steel. Alumax was here. This is the old Alumax building, which is now owned by Cliffstar. And I think they've used that off and on as a training facility. So tell us a little bit about what's going on here. How is it beginning to take shape?
Well, first of all, as you know, that was a huge demolition that they are completing now. I believe at this point they're going to be entering their cleanup phase. They'll be doing a huge cleanup there. And again, this was part of the BOA designation properties that we designated. So the developer will be eligible to receive these tax credits for doing the cleanup on that site.
Now, you talk about BOA. BOA is the Brownfield Opportunities Area, so that when an industry or a company such as the cold storage warehouse wants to come in, if they come into a BOA site, that means that there are incentives paid for by the state to help them come in and to help them clean up these old brownfield areas. And so as you can imagine, with this at one time being a steel plant and an aluminum extrusion plant, and then of course the warehouse, so there were things, the locomotive company, there were things underground that had to be cleaned up. So as we go through here and take a look at all this pile of debris and rubble and mud, this is what's going on. Randy, tell us about it.
Well, we see the big. I used to have a toy called a Tonka toy, and these things are a little bit bigger than that. So these are the real deal. These are big Caterpillar machines that can move big blocks of concrete that weigh many, many tons. This building, as I said, was historical. I wanted to mention that it had its time with making locomotives, but also was important for the United States to help win World War II. There are a lot of Dunkirk residents that during World War II made armaments in this factory that's now being demolished for another level. So I wanted to give credit to the people who worked in this factory during the time that it was necessary to. We don't like to see wars, but certainly World War II was one that we had to win, and Dunkirk people were definitely part of winning that. And a lot of the tools and machinery and armaments that helped win that war were made here in Dunkirk at this factory that's now being put to a different use.
Well, times do change, and we do have to move along, and we have to think about what was, and certainly giving credit to all of those who worked here and were a part of this is necessary. So as we close out this section of City Speaks with Mayor Rosas and DPW Director Woodbury, this has been an interesting trip. I hope you all have enjoyed it. And Mayor, do you have any final words?
No, I just want to let the public know that there's a lot of construction going on in the city. Some people may not realize that, but in about another year or two, things are going to look a lot different. Things should be better, and the economy will be better.
Well, I believe that, and I know that Dunkirk is going to be the destination, not just for industry, not just for business, but for people to come and live and go to school and work and to recreate. So please watch City Speaks on Dunkirk Access 1301, 3 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Make sure that you stay up to date. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have concerns, please send those to me, Vicki Westling, at City Hall, 342 Central Avenue, Dunkirk. Email me at vwestling@cityofdunkirk.com. You may call me directly, 363-6888. And City Speaks is here for you. It's for the residents of the city of Dunkirk. It was a vision of Mayor Rosas. He wants to make sure that the city residents know his administration is transparent, will continue to be transparent. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Randy.